everybody out in the world.
Hello, hello.
Halloween. And happy birthday, Dr. The Entities. This has been
Happy
great.
birthday.
Um, we've had like I've been listening to all of the lives since morning, like since Shannon went, and it's been so cool. Some of the stories, some of the things everybody's been sharing. Um, I'm just so happy to be part of this. Um, thank you, Charu, for joining me. And what else is possible? So, what are we talking about today? What do you want to talk about?
I have so many stories with entities being a medical
Yeah.
doctor and how medically it has been transforming so much related to diseases. And
Okay.
but two of like my favorite topics are like diseases and entities, and the other one is money and entities. So what do we talk about?
I love money and entities. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we have like quick one because we both are doctors, so we know how
Mm,
interesting for both of us is entities and diseases, and the other part is money and entities. So we start with money and entities, and we see where it goes. So Khushboo,
yeah.
what is it for you with money and entities?
Yeah. So, ah, it's been such a gift, right? So, if there's one specialty that has helped me change and just talk to the entities in general, is the money part of it and the receiving part of it. Every time there's so many stories, but I've every time I've been, stuck or just looking at like, you know what, I think it'd be great if I get some more money and I will just put it out. And there's this whole thing that starts showing up, whether it's creating a class around talk to the entities or it's um, working with talk to the entities. It's like it has opened up a receiving for me, which for the longest time, my entire life, I had shut it down so much, right? Like, so before talk to the entities even came in, I knew I was always aware. And I remember growing up, just, I mean, who teaches you that it's okay to talk to entities, let alone money and entities is the thing. And so for the longest time there was no real education about entities. There was and we live in a culture where it's made very significant. So it's made highly significant. So, and I noticed that because of that significance of entities and of money and just of everything, I noticed how I started resisting our entire culture. Like, I I actually started resisting my culture and where I come from, like to a such a degree. I know we know something, but there is so much significance. So I remember just like really resisting this part, and also no real conscious education. So, and it turned into a place where I was aware, but I started shutting it down dynamically. So imagine if you're this aware. Like I remember at the age of 22 also, I would sleep in my parents' room. Like that's how aware I was. And I was like, I didn't know what to do. So I'm studying dentistry and I'm like, at one end I'm studying dentistry and then the other end I'm like, oh shit. And it's just not happening. So as I started saying yes, as the first foundation that I did, I started saying yes to talk to the entities, things started moving. Like if you have an ability with entities and you've been resisting it, guess what, even the money is like not going to come to you with ease, joy and glory, because it's about receiving. It's not a money problem, it's a receiving problem, like Gary said. So talk to the entities has basically opened up my receiving to something I had resisted for so long and with such power uh, that it also started changing things. I mean, you want to talk about diseases, so it also started showing up as things on my body. So all of this started changing. And I'm sorry I'm talking so much.
That's fine. That
Yeah, but so that's what it did. It's like this ability that you have, that you've been made wrong for, that no one gives you any education, and then you live in a culture where it's not. I mean, yes, we don't disbelieve in entities, but we make it very significant to the point that it really isn't fun. So talk to the
We make
entities
it
makes it.
significant
Yeah,
or ignore it. Like we just
yeah,
ignore it. We
yeah,
don't,
yeah,
like you said, spoke about shutting off. Like you didn't want to make it significant. And in my case, it was shutting off because something that you know you're not supposed to speak. And it turned into a lot of health issues. And as a
yeah.
doctor, I was going through so much issues. And if I'm not well and healthy, how do I go and do my business? How do I go and do my daily course? And for me, it's very direct. Like if I don't do my daily course, how do I earn money? And the more I started being with entities, receiving them, clearing them, using the tools of talk to the entities in my clinic, my number of patients increased. Like that was directly proportional to the money I was receiving, because it was so easy for me to clear entities, communicate with them, use the tools of talk to the entities, and boom boom, the results was really good. And people were like, oh, what is this doctor doing in the clinic? So I had like direct proportion to money with entities,
Yeah.
which was not which was not given to me in my medical field. And clearly remember Shannon had come to India for Talk to the Entities Advance. And
Hmm.
before she was coming, I had a patient coming to me, 6-year-old child, and she was labeled as schizophrenic, bipolar, and she had stayed in mental hospital for a couple of days. And somehow somebody said, go to her. And she came, and I used Talk to the Entities basic beginners tools, and I saw things shifting, and I was like, okay, I need to go more deeper into this. And that child would have been dead saying I want to commit suicide, but the tools of talk to the entities cleared, and she's absolutely okay. And that was the beginning of like knowing more with entities, having more, being more, receiving more.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for me, it's been so direct proportional to medicine, um medical histories, entities, and money. And every time I asked for more money, I would start getting randomly patients who would
Yeah.
come as alcoholics, who would come
Yeah.
as people who are on drugs. And there are so many, we know in beginners we talk about alcoholic drug entities, and suddenly the results would be super cool, and
Yeah.
things would just lighten up in their world. So like you said, resistance, this is something that started opening up for me. What you resist persists. And it's like I have been resisting drugs and alcohol since my childhood. I had a complete aversion to it. And like you said, you had an resistance to our culture. And what gift that is to us!
Yeah.
The receiving of more
Yeah.
alcohol,
So have
drugs,
you been?
and society.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I think it just cut out a little bit. That's why I came in. But yeah, exactly. So what have you been resisting? And to be honest, this is one of those things. Talk to the entities was one of those topics in general that I resisted. Like, um, I I actually
We are
got to a point
doctors.
where I had nothing to do with my being a doctor or not. It was just me. Like I don't even. It doesn't even make a difference whether I'm a doctor. It's just generally, it's just something that I didn't want to look at because it was wrong. You're crazy, and also the significance again. So look at your lives right now. Like, what is it that you've been resisting, and have you been resisting entities as well? Because I honestly reached a point where I had to attend Talk to the Entities with Shannon. Like I had to go to the advanced, or like my body. I mean, I was dying inside. It just wasn't working. Um, and I don't see Charu. I wonder what else is possible. So yeah, we've got some multiple Charus going on here, and I wonder what that is. Cool. So, welcome to Entities live streaming in India. How does it get better than that? And India from India. Ah, so what have you been resisting? Have you been resisting your awareness of entities? Have you been made wrong like all your life for just being really weird and crazy and because it doesn't fit into, I mean, I'm someone who loves science, but I know I mean, if I didn't have what I have with access and with TTT, I would not be here.
Me too.
What have you been resisting? And if you didn't resist, and somebody's actually mentioned that shutting off was easy. Um, Hold on one second. I think I
Yeah.
have to mute you. I have to mute somebody. Yes. So somebody is in the chat has said shutting off was easy. I mean that's yes and no. Like it was easy then, easier than being aware of entities because we didn't have the tools. But the amount of energy that it requires to shut off what you know is, yeah, the pain that it causes, mental, physical, and emotional. It's believe me, once you have the tools, shutting off is not easy. Shutting off requires a lot of hard work, and it's actually so much easier now that I'm not shutting it off. And the day that I still turn to shut it off, it just becomes really weird and heavy again. And I was like, wait, what am I not? What am I shutting off now? What am I resisting? So it may have been at some point where it was easier than being aware because you didn't have the tools. But believe me, if you just open up and like, even if you begin with just reading the Talk to the Entities book, you'll notice that it's actually so much easier the other way around because it's your capacity. It's like what you are. What else?
Totally. Like I remember we started talking about, like I remember till 32 I wouldn't sleep alone, and that had become a
Just
limitation for
10
me
more
to
years than
travel.
me. Just 10 more years.
Yes,
Cool. So,
to travel more. That was
yeah.
like a limitation, like I couldn't. And it also, like we are talking about entities and money, so I had to start receiving more entities, not fearing them, for me to make choices in my life, the basic simple choices, the way I would like to live. I would like to travel more, I would like to have more, but if I can't, if I'm fearful of entities, how do I do that? And the more I started using the basic beginners tools, and like you spoke about the book, I remember reading that book first time and I was so scared, as if something would turn up through the window. And
Yeah.
it all just lightened up in those, how Shannon has so simply, like it's so funny, it's like magic arts, but it's done in such a
Yeah.
nice way, clear, with so much of clarity, that there is no way that you miss out on something. And like you start really having the lightness in your world, because entity world lives in awareness and lightness. So if something
I
that
mean,
you
yeah,
enjoy. Yeah.
entity live in lightness and heaviness. Like there's all sorts of entities out there, and believe me, that is like some shitty stuff that we have to get through to get get clear in the beginning. Like when we began, like there was so much overwhelm. Yes, in the beginning it can be like, oh shit, because there is this. It's not all good and it's not all bad, but we have to open up to it all so that you can clear the heavy stuff because as we resist the heavy, we're also not going to receive fully the lightness and the joy of it. Like my not willing to be aware of that one entity in my bedroom literally shut me off from like even going through like gardens. And when I became aware of like spirits like of the earth, I would just be like, oh my god, is it like a spirit of the earth, is it something else, like, oh my god, shut off. Like, so that's the other thing that TTT can give you, has given me, is trusting myself in knowing what I'm dealing with. Because a lot of times we don't know what we're dealing with because we've never really acknowledged what we're aware of. So most of the stuff with entities, we don't really know what we're dealing with. And since a lot of us can't see it, you have to enter the perception and like you have to trust your perception of it. And so we start projecting all this stuff on all the entities around. So that's what happens. So with TTT and with TTT tools, you start getting more clarity about what you're actually dealing with. without any projections, and getting more and more into just the perception of it, um, and then changing the energetics from there, and then that yes, when there's like a mean thing, and then you're like, but it doesn't matter, because it's like, how do you deal with a mean person? Exactly that, like, fuck off, Paro. Like, why are you giving it so much importance? But just know that there's all sorts of energies, and how do you trust yourself with what you're dealing with? Where do you begin? How do you begin? And that's what TTT gave me. Like, literally, how do I, like, there's everything that you're aware of, like everything at once. Like, how do you know what you're dealing with? That's what it helped me
Yeah,
with.
it's trusting
Like
yourself
you
more.
said.
And yeah,
Yeah.
money is not the problem. Receiving you, receiving more of you, receiving every energy in the universe, where you, like in this world, we are taught to cut off, resist, react, or agree, align. But it is more of how can you receive more. And receiving has opened up so beautifully with Talk to the Entities, and especially through speciality classes that are done.
Yeah.
Spirits of the earth, money and entities, and
Yeah.
um, like for me, my favorite is entities and addiction, because
Yeah.
that really allows me to look at it from a very different space of how addiction stops me from receiving. And addiction is not only drugs and alcohol, it can be just as simple as going into right and wrong and stopping me from receiving anything beyond right and wrong. So
Yeah.
if, like, I and in this reality we also know that business, money, all of them are entities. So I sometimes use basic tools of Talk to the Entities to clear my points of views with money. In
Yeah.
this reality, how we have points of views with money, you have to really work hard to make money, or it money comes to only rich people, or money is evil. Like clearing the points of views, then communicating to money, hey money, how are you? Like, would you like to come to me? How much would you like to be with me? And then, like, really cooperating with money and receiving it fully. Every time the money shows up, do we really receive it, or do we say, oh shit, it's like too less, can I have more? Or like, what is your communication going on with money as an entity, or
Yeah.
your business?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where I think, when I first listened to the money and entity speciality class with Shannon, oh, there was so much clarity for the first time, because someone was talking about it, not like in a significant way, but in a pragmatic way. Not this thing where you need to you need to give this offering as this, and then this entity will give you this. And it was the first time somebody wasn't talking about making the entity or money greater than you and outside of you, and where you have to do all of these rituals and stuff to even get something, which is again the significance part of it. This was something that was pragmatic. There was no significance, there were no rituals involved. There was just you being
And there was
you.
no give and
Yeah,
take also,
there
like I
was
give you
no give
this,
and
you give me.
take. You give me
Yeah.
this, which is what you find basically in everything, like, here. And I was like, oh my god, this is the first time someone's actually talking sense. Like, I was like, yeah, thank you for saying these things in so many words, because I always thought I was wrong for not really engaging in all of those
Yes.
things that we do here, and wondering, like, maybe I'm wrong. And you're judged for not being
Yeah,
like,
because you're not
for
following rituals, you're not going to the
yeah,
temple, you're like having direct communication with universe,
yeah,
your god. And like, you're not making god bigger than you, you're not making them significant,
that
you are
entity,
definitely
yeah,
wrong. Yeah. And then uh,
yeah,
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 and like true gifting and receiving opened up for me also through Talk to the Entities, where I really had to go beyond my mind, beyond my logical head, to like really start receiving and gifting with no expectations. Like, you know how we do clearing entities and we need to, okay, now get me money, it's like going through that
yeah,
expectation. But true gifting and receiving opened up through Talk to the Entities for me.
exactly. So that's our invitation here, and that's the invitation that we got invited to. Like,
Yeah.
this whole world does not need to be significant. there is ease, joy, there is lightness, there is like I literally have entities who crack jokes in my head. I'm not kidding. Like I think I have like the funniest teammates on this planet, where I have stand-up comedians as my teammates. So what else is possible? And and how does it get better with this? Well, Manju, you came in a little late, so what else is possible?
What
And
else is possible?
yeah. And anyway, so I wonder what you guys know about entities, and I wonder if this. I mean, there's so many things happening. Please go listen to some of the other lives. There's so many other TTT facilitators coming in and talking about their stories. We also have a 15% discount on a whole bunch of products for 24 hours. Money and entities is also one of them. Yes, it is, and spirits of the earth, and some of the things that Charu also spoke about. Go check it out. It's only there for 24 hours. And how does
And
it
if
get
you're
better than this?
resisting it,
Thank you so much.
if you're resisting it, this may be the place for you to explore more, because what you resist underneath, there's a gold mine lying there.
Good, good. Exactly. Are you ready to dig the gold out? Anyway,
Get
thank
the
you so
money.
much. We have to leave.
Thank
Bye
you. Thank you,
bye. Thank
Khushboo.
you,
Bye,
Charu.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.